Welcome to the buy list. This is episode 50.
This is not financial advice. This is mostly ranting and some cardboard. Let's get into it, Ted.
What's
What
up,
have you been
man?
up to?
Let's see. What have I been up to? Did a little bit of pro questing. Um, we'll probably talk about this a little bit more in the after the deep dive this episode, but kind of had a new perspective to my pro quest season.
Mhm.
Um, and for that reason, I had a lot of fun. I went to a draft pro quest. I skipped out on a CC pro quest. I was like ready to go, and I was just like, I think I'm good. Um, I had some other stuff come up anyways, so kind of passed on that one, but definitely wanted to get to my draft pro quest that was somewhat local to me because I'm going to be honest with you, I really like drafting bright lights.
Mhm. It's super deep. It's like surface level, good, and then very deep.
It's like annoyingly hard. It's like the one thing that just boggles my mind every time I draft it, Nate, is that you the thing that I've never had to do in fab drafts before is you have to actively manage blue counts. It's like
Yeah.
you can just end a draft with like 4 blues in your deck.
Yes. If you punt blues, like, yes,
Yeah.
it is like something that you actively have to keep track of the
Yeah.
entire time.
It's like if you were kind of conscious, you end with 7 and 3 of them are no blocks and you're like, "Oh no, oh no, oh no. Oh god."
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
there's
So I don't know who started the phrase banana, but I love it because like no one yellow cards suck. They're
yeah.
the worst.
Yeah.
And at the end of every pack, there's 4 bananas. It's
Yep.
just how it ends up.
Yep.
Like if you get a blue card, like sub like 3 picks left, you're like,
Yeah,
you don't
that
even care if it's no
blocks.
block.
Yeah.
Yep. If you get a 3 block banana sub 3 picks, you baby.
You're like, "Oh, I
Uh,
can make a hyperdriver with this and then in my turn. Oh my god. I don't even get to swing
woo.
Banksy." Yeah.
Yep.
It's and I guess yeah, it's like annoyingly hard, man. It's I'm interested in this watch worlds actually and see how the pro guys come out with these decks. I hope they do the like over the shoulder, interviews and things like that and really kind of deep dive into it because I'd love to see how pro players are approaching this set because for a guy like myself that's like drafted like 4 times total, man, I am like it's like hard at the same time. It's like frustrating at times, but then it's like really rewarding too when you kind of draft with purpose. Like this weekend in my pro quest, there was some like very purposeful picks that I took. And I got to play them out in my games, right? I didn't do great. The results weren't great, but like I was like, oh, okay, I have to remember that for next time. For example, I think we talked about it because you were at the same pro quest. Is that security script, that rare blue that gives +1 to your mechanologist block cards item, that overperformed big time. And I was like, I picked it and I was like, this might come in handy. And it definitely did in a couple games, which was fun to find. It was like a little like, hey, I unlocked a little cheat code, you know?
Yeah, I watched you block an 8 overpower with that and then a block card, and because that was on the field, your, 3 block was a 4 block, and then you had the yellow, like, give it +2 for the over so you full blocked an 8 overpower that would have ended your
Yeah.
entire career
With a
because
red boom grenade on hit too.
yeah, you would have absolutely exploded.
Yep.
So it like, seeing it and wa watching the evolution of this draft format and, like, listen, like, we're still working on it on the pack, like, there's so much still to uncover, archetypes to work on,
Hmm.
and try to, like, really hone in because there's a lot to pick up on, like, Tekla Boston is, like, pretty straightforward on how you
Yeah.
draft. There's,
Hmm.
like, 2 different archetypes there that are, like I mean, just you block cards,
Yeah, you block cards.
um,
Yeah. You draft 3
and
for 7s.
yes.
Yeah.
The more interesting things to, like, uncover and work on are, like, the max strategies and dash strategies
Hmm.
that can go in, like, all sorts of different directions and what cards play better in certain formats, and, like decks and what are you trying to build your deck to be to? Like,
Hmm.
because all of the cards are draftable by all the heroes, so you can start. I've switched multiple times in pack two.
Yep.
Like between I went from max to dash to back to max, and then
Hmm.
I ended pack two like, okay, I'm actually just gonna draft dash. Because the decks are pretty similar in how they play out.
Yeah.
And they don't mind a lot of the same items being played together. So um it's that I really like. I think that is really cool on how those archetypes start to play out. But there's certain like niche cards that will go in each.
Yeah, and like previous formats, previous draft formats sets, you switch once and you kill yourself and like the two people sitting next to you. Like it
Yes.
was like just commit Sudoku, dude. You just like suicide yourself and your O3 is like it's not even just an O3 where like man, if I could have just drew a card right? It was like you just got obliterated if you switched at the
Yeah.
wrong time. So, yeah, like you
It's an
saying
it's an
switching back and
03
forth.
where you just like pick up, you don't even look at any of the cards, and you just walk away because you're just so sad.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh,
It's like I'm not playing the other two games, guys. Good luck.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So,
So we again, we warned you. This is gonna be we're going deep this week. So we're going back. We're gonna do some buy list cards that we're looking at right
mhm.
now. And then after that, I'm gonna rant a little bit about a lot of things.
But a
Uh,
little rant a little bit about a lot.
so like if you're just here to listen to me rant, you can skip because we're going deep, baby. But right now we're gonna talk about Glint the Quicksilver. We got some spoilers, and woo, what I don't even know what that gif is of the guy who's like,
Yeah.
that's me right
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
Though one art, absolute banger. Great job, LSS. Keep knocking out some just sick art. Two, we got Brute, baby. We ain't got. I don't know if this is confirmed to be Savage Lands, but we got Brute, baby. We got Brute, Warrior, Guardian, maybe. I don't know. Some people call me the Oracle, but we might be seeing some Ninja too. Who knows? Because it is actually WTR 2.0. Let's not rule it out yet, people. All right, let's just not rule it out.
Yeah,
But
I mean, going back to a four, well, like, I mean, Outsiders was technically six heroes, but like really not technically. I think we talked about this a little bit, Nate. I hope that Heavy Hitters is kind of in the same vein as Outsiders, where you bring in a couple old characters. They're visiting the arena for some reason, and you kind of build out a draft set where you have the same class but they operate in two different axes, right? Like Benji and Katsu, they both ninjas but they work differently so they can push and pull on each other's cards a little bit during a draft, which is
yeah,
fun.
yeah. Like Benji, you tried the draft Katsu, but your cards were too bad, so you need unblockable damage to actually win the game.
Yeah,
Benji was not a, was the definitely the worst ninja.
yeah, pretty much. But yeah, so like you said, we're taking a look at we're going back in time, we're rewinding it like we said in our live stream. Heavy Hitters is welcome to Wraith Part 2. Welcome back to
Yeah.
Wraith.
Well, welcome back to Rank,
Welcome
baby.
back
That's what
to
they should
Wraith.
have called it.
Yeah, so we're going to take a look at some of these older cards. Glint's the first one here. So target weapon gains go again. Real nice. And then
Slapper.
reprise. Huh?
Slapper.
Oh yeah, for sure. And then reprise. If a defending hero has defended with a card from their hand, this chain link draw a card. We've said this before, Nate. You've stated it. Draw a card. That's the three word. That's what we're looking for on a card, right?
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah.
So
That's why I have a pile of these.
yeah, yeah.
Someday.
I have a pile of those as well. But yeah, so I mean, it's just a staple, right? It's like a mainstay. It's a blue. It's a block three. Looking at some of the data here, pretty stable prices. Heavy hitters is not really going to affect these cards just yet. I mean, even though we got an indication, we know what's in the set now, Warrior Brute Guardian.
Yep.
For $3, $4, bunch of them on there. The one thing to note here is I was a little bit surprised. I think maybe the sell selling almost 30 in the last 7 days, right? Um, Probably a little high. It's definitely higher than our other two cards that we want to show off or deep dive into. So, um, yeah, a little bit of movement, but overall prices are low.
Maybe people think Dory's back now that Lexi's gone.
Um, I don't think Bravo agrees, but it depends.
I think Bravo is significantly easier for Dory to deal with than Oldhim.
Yeah, true. But yeah, I mean, I think it's good to have this. Definitely have your playset, right? Again,
Yep.
if always trying to angle these breakdowns towards the player. If you want to play Warrior, if you think you might want to play the new Warrior that's coming out in the set, grab your playset now at $3.40. Um, yeah, this card definitely will go up if once Heavy Hitters gets close by.
Yeah. As soon as we start to see spoilers, like it's just a blue block 3. It's just gonna get a look. So pick
Yep.
it up.
All right, Nate, let's jump over to our second card here. Oh, baby. I'm starting to sense a theme here. So, Blood Rush Bellows is an additional
Yeah.
cost. Discard a card. We all know what this does. We've all been on the receiving end of this card. It's not fun. Your brute attacks gain +2. If you discarded a 6 or more, draw 2 cards. Draw 2. So yeah, this is like the staple. This is what makes Reinhardt cook. Um yeah, this card's great. Like
It's it's the only reason to play Brute.
it
This card
literally.
is the single reason people decide to sleeve up Brute. It is you draw 2 cards, you let out a big yell, and you just wreck some face.
Yeah.
Like, there's 0 chance that the new Brute unless the new Brute for some odd reason doesn't play 6s. If the new Brute doesn't play 6s, great, whatever.
That's
Then
like
this
yeah.
card sucks. But, like, there ain't no chance. Blooder's Bellow is gonna be a banger. Rhinar is gonna be a banger. Levia?
Yeah.
Probably not. But, you know, like, she had her time. Everyone thought she was playable for, like, 2 weeks after Dusk Till Dawn hit. So she had her time, and now it's Rhinar's time. So move over, get your blood rushes, get ready to let out the bellow, baby.
Yeah, and in fact, our last deep dive of cards, I think included Scowling Fleshbag, which shout out to that card. Still very affordable. Still
Yes.
probably definitely in the deck. Maybe
Yes.
you prefer Crown of Providence in some matches, but I think Scowling Fleshbag is definitely a look. Because
For sure.
yeah, it's going to be attacking some. I think ninjas might be in the upcoming meta, Nate. I
Yeah.
think that
In
card's
the
really good against them.
yes, scowling flesh bag, in the words of Martin Luther King, card slaps.
Good slaps. Yeah. So, looking at some of the data here, again, like we're not seeing much movement on this card yet, right? There's a good amount of them out there, right? 24 listings, multiple quantities in those listings, right? So there's a good stock of them out there, but that we've seen that vaporize pretty quickly. $4, right? Get your play sets now, guys. You don't wanna wait on these.
Yep.
So, and like Nate said, it will be a staple, no doubt about it. All right,
Yep.
jumping into our last card here, giving Guardian some love. And actually, this card is interesting, Nate. We talked about it a little bit as we were, going through show notes before going live. Spinal Crush. So here's the thing. This card's interesting, right? You're like, oh, it's like $2.60. There's 46 listings. There's like literally probably hundreds of these cards on TCG Player right now, right?
Yep.
So here's the thing, like only 11 have sold. A lot of old players have their play sets of these, right? For one reason or the other. But I think Living Legends, especially once it gets premiered at Worlds, right? There's going to be a lot of fanfare for this. We already saw I guess I don't want to say non-sponsored, but like a unofficial Living Legends format streamed, and I tell you what, man, people were clamoring over that. My local Discord was all hyped up about it. People started collecting Starvo gear, Prism cards. So this card is going to be pulled by CC with Bravo, because I think Bravo will be a player in the new meta, at some level, and then also Starvo is going to want this card. So you know, at $2, $2.50. I mean, I'm not claiming that this thing's going to go to $15 a piece, but I mean, I think it's likely that it doesn't stay at $2.60.
For the it's less than a Jimmy John sandwich for the playset.
Yeah.
We're about to get a new Guardian.
Yep.
Bravo is looking a little sexy now that Lexi's leaving. And Old Yammer, dude, people love their Old Yammer, and he's gonna be playable in LL. Starvo's gonna be playable in LL. I don't know if Starvo even wants this card because there's just like
Well,
they have,
Starstruck now maybe
yeah,
it
Star
could
Structure is
slot.
better. Yeah, it's like, listen, don't order your Jimmy Johns tomorrow and go get yourself some spinals, and you'll thank me later.
Yep.
You're welcome, America.
And I mean, I think this card, its ability is it loses go again, right, Nate? And I think we've all kind of seen the writing on the wall. What's the next meta, right? It's going to and you, it's going to involve lots of go again. Dragons have go again. Boost cards have go again, right? And boost you can't gain go again, so like
Yeah,
boosting doesn't matter. Ninjas to
Ninja
attack those
Boy.
dragons
Yep.
go again. So this card definitely is going to be not like a silver bullet, but it's just going to be highly impactful, and you're going to be slotting it in if you're playing Guardian.
Yes.
All right, so that's what we wanted to deep dive into. Yeah, some oldies but some goodies. The WTR is coming back, folks. This set doesn't really get opened all that much. Tunic just got reprinted, so um, it kind of kills it, not kills, but it's really hard to open a box of WTR right now, because Tunic wasn't even enough previously. Now it's been kind of knocked down a peg. So these cards can evaporate pretty quickly if people get real amped for heavy hitters. So just
Yeah.
keep an eye on that.
Yeah. It's definitely, I mean, there's a lot of WTR. But again, like you said, we saw it with Bright Lights. Bright Lights is a mechanologist only set, but like look at what that did to all of the mech cards. Like
Yep.
people really liked playing with these new mech cards, and they're like, oh, I want it. Like you've started playing with like multiple mech, and like you were never a mech guy before, and like
Yeah.
you've been picking up a ton of like dash cards, tech
Mm-hmm.
Lavosin cards, just to like be able to play a mech deck.
Yep.
And with how LSS wants to manage the like not I guess not rotation, but like the hero rotation of the game, like they're going to be rotating heroes quicker and quicker, people will need to find new decks to play. So like with heavy hitters, do we lose Icelander? Do we lose another deck before then?
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and then will they start playing like some heavy hitters limited and be like, all right, I see you, kind of like that. Maybe I'll
Mm-hmm.
explore that.
Yep.
Um, so, I think it's definitely just when the cards are that cheap, like, go get your
Yep.
play sets, pick them up because like, people are out here in the streets rioting, burning buildings to the ground because Tome is $50. So, like, listen, if you don't want your village pillaged,
Wait,
then
are
just
we ranting?
are we going into the rant now? Which rant should we
Well,
start with?
well, it
Okay,
kind of sounds like we're already there, Nate.
alright, alright. First and foremost, I want to say I love you to my boy Roger Bodie. Um, Roger posted that the M&R cast is stepping away. Um, Roger had some stuff come up, and like he kind of recapped it. I Roger's one of my teammates,
Mhm.
and he's a fab dad like myself, and we are honestly far too similar, and we routinely psyops each other, and not having him on the team is honestly a big loss of joy because he is every ounce of what people caught on the Manor cast is 100% Roger, but it's only like 80% Roger, to be completely honest. He's far funnier when he's not on the
Yeah.
cast. Because he takes the gloves off and just he goes hard in the paint. And that's like basically what Ted puts gloves on me. And like so like I really identify with Roger, being Fab Dads, being just like utter trolls, and that's kind of what we do. So I'm gonna miss you, buddy. The Fab community is worse off without him,
Yeah.
and
100%.
without the M&R podcast because they put together probably the one of the best competitive podcasts
Yeah.
on a weekly basis.
Yeah, Michael Hamilton. I mean, having a podcast where Michael Hamilton is sharing his thoughts on the game, sharing his thoughts on builds, or even discussing his tournament runs. He's the reigning world champion right now. He's won numerous callings, right? You know, it, it's yeah, like you said, it's worse off for the Fab community to not have those guys doing a podcast.
Yep.
And not to, and like echo everything you said about Roger, right? There was a lot of fun listening to them guys. I've actually never met the guy. I don't think our paths have crossed, unfortunately, but I hope he, maybe someday at a indie event or something, or he comes back, right, and we can shake hands. But yeah, it's a bummer to see that happen. um yeah, less content is at the very bare minimum is worse for the game, right? So,
Yep.
but best
Yep.
of luck to those guys. I know Michael Hamilton's going to be around, right? He mentioned he's grinding for Worlds, but best of luck to Brody, and hopefully, we can see
Bodie.
him again in the future. Roger, sorry.
Yeah. It's okay. It's Bodie. There's
Bodie,
Brody.
Brody, yeah, it's all
Yeah.
over the place.
It's
He
all right.
gets it.
He
Uh,
gets it. He does listen sometimes. Um, so that was I just wanted to say something because Roger's a good friend of mine. All right, rant one. Speaking of Twitter, I refuse to call that platform X, so it's still Twitter.
yep.
Um, Everyone out there who is complaining about people complaining can shut their fucking mouths. I believe to myself, you're welcome, Ted.
Yeah, yeah, thanks.
Listen, there's been too much people complaining about people complaining. That's my take.
Yeah, it's like it's like a snake eating itself now. It's like, oh my god, it's just like echoing to the max.
Yes. In I understand where they're coming from. There's been a lot of people who have been vocally complaining all over Twitter, and like normally we are not that type of community, but I think it's disingenuous to say that like this is the healthiest meta we've ever had it- because yes, Lexi might be the best deck that we've ever had be the best deck. And I don't think that's necessarily the issue. I think the issue is that Lexi's been the best deck for 7, 8 months now.
Yeah.
Honestly, I thought she was the best deck since January. Like, that was before Outsiders.
Yeah.
Um, but I think that's honestly why people are so frustrated and so fed up is not because Lexi's still the best. It is because Lexi is still the best
Still,
deck, not
yeah.
because she is the best deck. And
Hmm.
I think there's just one, Twitter sucks. Everyone get off Twitter.
Yeah.
Don't go on that garbage platform. There's no nuance in discussion.
You said it
So
though. Like Fab Twitter was actually kind of a little bit of a safe haven, right? Like, because I guess I don't have to go on there. If you follow me, you know that I don't tweet. Like, I'm not hyper tweeting things out there, right? I'll tweet maybe once or twice a day, and then I'll go dark for multiple days. But Fab Twitter was kind of like, I mean, honestly, I felt like it was like a corner we carved out where it was a good read, right? And I agree with you. I don't think it's Lexi is the problem as like just as a silo, right? I think it's the time um that she's been on top. Then it's compounded by the transition period and
yeah,
LSS making the decision to let her LL. Just kind of was like, here's a can of gasoline. And they like just set it by the fire, and someone's like, I'm going to kick this over. Right.
yeah,
I mean, like, and then it just reverberates, which I'm not saying that, um, I see the validity in those arguments, right? Of being like, why do we have to put up with her for this much longer? You could have done something. But at the same time,
You done something. You could have prevented this.
right, exactly. So, I mean, I just, I agree with you. I would like to get back to, that little not peaceful corner of the internet, but, I would like to get it back to the way it was.
Yeah,
And I think we're on the cusp of that, hopefully, even though I think people are still revved up to a point where now they've just moved their target to
yeah,
either box prices, to either Dromai, to either, you know what I mean? And it's kind of unfortunate to see, actually. It's like, man,
yeah,
you guys are just like, I get it. Like, you're okay. It's okay to be angry at it and be frustrated with this meta, but like, let's take a breath and just be like, what's like, the game's going to change in a big way next week, I think. Honestly, I honestly think that.
yeah. 100%. So that's the.
And by
I
game,
think
I mean meta. Like, the meta is going to
yes,
change in a huge way next week.
yes. Obviously, Lexi leaving is going to make reshape the entire meta, and I think that it'll be very interesting to see how this meta plays out. We have no clue. Like that. This is a wide open meta. Obviously, Dromai is very like positioned to be on top, but I think there's a because she is so popper I don't even know.
She can be
She's a
targeted, right?
yeah, she's like she's a kind of a glass cannon, especially when she's running Crowded Dominion. Like
Yeah.
if she gets popped at the wrong time, like that game just ends. So like I'm not super concerned about like, oh no, now it's gonna be Dromai. Like I think the game is gonna go into like I think this is gonna be a very healthy meta, and I'm actually a little disappointed that we only get worlds on this meta, to be
Yeah.
honest.
Yeah.
Like um I think this is gonna be a really cool meta. It so to go back
It
to
needs
my
some time to breathe too. So to kind of add on to your point, Nate, too, is like, and that's what I was saying. The target kind of moved a bit, and it's like, well, look at Dromai now. She's 5 of the top 8. This is oppressive. How are we ever going to deal with this? And it's like,
yeah.
yes.
It,
So like when you go to your armory next week after the BNR and Lexi's not legal,
yeah.
just remember that there's going to take a little bit of adjustment. People are going to bring Dromai, and you're going to feel oppressed when they play Tome of the Firebrand and they poop out a bunch of dragons.
Talking about Firebrand?
I don't, what it,
Okay, boomer.
Imperial Flame. That's what it. Whatever. When they play a book.
When they slap a book on the
Wait,
table
is there a
and you say,
Tome of the
I can't
Firebrand?
read.
I
Huh?
don't even know. Is that even a card? I don't know what I'm talking about.
Yes, Tome of Imperial Flame. Yes, you got
Yeah,
it the second time.
Imperial Flame, right? And it's gonna feel bad, right? If you're playing Vincent, or if you're just trying, you kind of like, oh, I'm gonna brew. Lexi always was my worst matchup, or you're playing Tekla Vossen or something, and it's gonna feel kind of awful and kind of because I've been there, guys. Like it's gonna be like, well, yeah, actually this meta sucks, but let's take a breath. Ninjas are there. Sleeve up Phi and go beat up on Dromais. Sleeve up Rhinar. Put every 6 in your deck and just stop their turns.
So, like to your point, like it is okay for people to be upset as well. But guess what? Like we are getting a brand new meta in when are we dropping this? Like 3 days
Mm-hmm.
after we drop this.
Yep.
Like we have to embrace that and not just like turn and be like, burn it to the ground. But I also think like people need to not be like so disingenuous to be like, this is the healthiest meta. Look at Azalea won a tournament. Oh, look at Droma won a tournament. It's like, yes, Lexi has bad matchups, but people aren't upset because like Lexi is tier zero, 100% win rate deck. They're upset because Lexi's been tier zero since March.
Yep.
That's the overall issue. Not that she's the most oppressive deck that the game has ever seen. It's so unhealthy. It's because the meta's been stale for too long. And it's the same reason why people hated Uprising Draft by the end of it. Because it was left out there to cook way too long.
Yep.
It was like it's like those people that like you see on the beach and it's like, bro, you 85 years old and you look like you turned into a California raisin. Bro, get inside.
Yeah.
You cooked too long.
Yeah, I
This
agree.
Lexi's cooked too long. I love her, but goodbye.
Yeah, I think honestly, maybe not to rehash this too much, but like ice is cooked for too long as well. So
Yeah.
Lexi kind of got it the short end of the stick. If she was just like an aggro ranger without the ice effects to like really push people into the ground, I think it wouldn't be as severe. But we've had this lead up since, I don't even think it's since Tails released, but I think it's like since, I don't know, there was a point where ice kind of like went over the edge. It was just like maybe Uprising because Icelander came out, and then
Yeah.
people just flipped, and they're like, I was kind of one of them, right? I've called for a channel like Frigid Ban, not like super publicly, but I'm like, yeah, maybe they should take a look at that, and it's kind of come around where even James White has said like, yeah, Ice can probably go away for a bit, and I think there's some underlying psychic damage that was done by Ice as well, like on top of then just letting Lexi cook for like, yeah. It's like
Yeah.
grandma left the turkey in the oven for like 5 hours too long, folks.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. So rant number 2. Which rant should I rant on now?
How many you got bottled up in there, dude?
I got so many. All right. Legendaries. Yo, too cheap. LSS. Tone it down. Like, it's so funny. Okay. First, I'm gonna address the peanut gallery of legendaries are too cheap, too expensive. They're too cheap now. And guess what they're crying about now? They ain't crying about legendaries no more. What are they crying about, Ted?
Majestics.
Yeah. $50 for my tome? How am I ever gonna play the game? Guess what? You don't, Timmy. You go in the corner and you cry because you were only gonna play with commons and rares anyways. Like
To be fair, the system, uh, it kind of works
Majestic
out
sets
better this
are
way.
more expensive now than legendaries.
Yes. Technically, I think for a new player, this is better. Technically, right? It's a less larger investment now to play X deck because you can just play without tomes and you can still play a very functional Dromai deck.
Mhm. Yep.
Maybe Dromai is not the best example because for like the rainbow foil chess piece is still kind of expensive. But yeah,
Like,
when
yeah.
you had to drop like $125 times 4 on some decks, right, to get the legendary equipment, and like you had to do that to play the deck, that was rough, right? Like, let's all remember that there was a point where everyone was like, hey man, these legendaries, these decks are too expensive.
Mhm.
So LSS listened to that and fixed it, and we all applauded. But then now we're mad when we open a $15 legendary.
15. Where are you selling these legendaries for 15 bucks, Ted? I mean, tell me who you scamming? Who you scamming? I'm looking over here at like Soulbound Resolve sitting at $9. Diadem sitting at $9. Street
Yeah.
Grazers is sitting at $15. Like,
Holy smokes, that's a hard pull too.
yeah. I mean, these
I mean, I think
legendary
it's like, yeah, it
legendaries can't be this expensive. And I
can't be this cheap.
or yes, this cheap. They need to be a little bit more expensive. It's we talked about it before, like the excitement of like pulling your first legendary. Like if you pull your first legendary, it's a $9 card. You're like, wait, this isn't even a hit. Where's my tomes?
Yeah.
Like,
They so it's weird because the cards that you just rattled off are cards that are not also playable currently, which is a problem, right? If legendaries are going to be $20, let's split the middle here and say that they're $20, Nate, not $9. That's kind of insane. Um, let's say it is $20, but it is like I always go back to what I know. It is like the arm piece that Vincent needs to play the game. I would be excited to open that. Like, okay, cool. I can play Vincent now. She gets this new legendary arm piece. It's the rainbow foil. I wish I could have pulled the cold foil, but now every time I block with 2 cards, I create a rune chant and take a life, right? Like that's the new arm piece for her, something like that. Something that's like playable, right?
Stealing my
Um,
ideas, Ted.
yeah, yeah. This is an idea that you came up with.
Yeah.
But if it was like super playable and needed for Teklovos and needed for Dash, then I think the fun is still, it's not all the way there, but it's like it recaptures a little bit of that fun. But man, you're printing like Dream State, and like I can't even extrapolate out a meta where an illusionist plays that. like like I can't even like, I'm like, man, you guys are 4D chessing me over here, because like I don't see it. And so then when you pull that and it's $9, you're like, you're throwing it at the camera at the start of our episodes. You know what I mean? Like it's rough,
Yeah.
man. They got to be careful with that. I think they should like kind of revisit how playable legendaries are. And if that means printing less legendaries in a set, do it.
Yes.
Don't
They
try to
like,
print 9 legendaries a set. If the
yes.
8th and ninth one are just unplayable,
Yeah. They have
that's
to be
it.
like, yes. Like absolutely don't print it. Like just if it make it feel legendary.
Yeah.
Because some of them don't right now, and that's an issue. And it feels like that because it's a one of, and it's like it might only go in one deck. Like if you overdo it, it is really overdone, and it's
Yeah.
very noticeable because the card just goes sinks to the bottom, and like there's just too much supply.
Yeah.
Um, because it's a one of. Whereas like some of the Majestics, like it's like maybe playable in like some like janky decks, and you're like, ooh, baby. But like equipment is like super clear when it's bad because you just like put it next to other equipment pieces and you go, yep, that's just statistically worse. Whereas like some people are like, oh, but this prismatic lens deck that can do an infinite cartwheel loop and loop the moon and shoot the yo-yo right through the frickin', and you're like, what? But someone thinks it's a genius idea, so someone's gonna buy prismatic lenses. Hit me up if you need rainbow foils because I have 17. Please, I need to move them. But
Yeah.
like, there's gonna be people who want to cook with that and like UPF and things like that. But
Yep.
like,
We're
diatom it isn't
yeah.
it.
Yeah, I think we've we've kind of hit on this notion a little bit before, right? With legendaries a couple episodes back. And I think it's worth talking about a little bit, especially now that EV is come and gone, 'cause, or EVO, Evo, Bright Lights. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. Because Bright Lights has kind of opened this wound a little bit wider, or like poured some salt on it. Um, again, I will repeat that I think Bright Lights is a positive force for the game. LSS just announced that they're going to another convention with Crack Shuffle Play, with so they needed this product, and I think we'll see this product for a long time, and I think people are excited for it. But also on the flip side, it's kind of exposed some more of these error. I think, yeah, I guess whatever. It's like some of these errors, right? That uh, perceived errors, maybe real errors that we're talking about.
Yeah, and I think that was all my rants. I think that we just need to be more optimistic in general. And oh, I remember my other rant. So Ted stole nearly 6 elo from me this weekend,
I did.
and I threw an overload script about 8 feet in the air because of it.
I did
Um,
notice this, and I understood the emotion.
yes, and I apologize, Ted, and I've already apologized to Ted at my frustration because I shouldn't have gotten that frustrated. I went. That was literally my second. I drove 2 hours and went 0-2 in my first draft. Still made top 8. Still got there.
Hmm.
Um, but I think that I put a lot of pressure on myself to succeed. Um, one, because of the team I'm on, like, um, I put like I try not to put myself like high on a pedestal, and like be like I'm the best player in the world.
Yeah.
Wee! Like I think I'm fair to moderate, and I'm okay at flesh and blood. I happen to have a great group of guys that I test with, and I do okay at tournaments. Um, a lot of people will routinely say that, like, look out for him. He's very good. He's
He's
going to
not
win.
that good. I just took 6 elo from him, so
He took 6 elo from me,
he
people.
can
Uh,
bleed. He bleeds.
yeah, I do bleed. I played a lot this weekend, all right? Um, and I got pretty frustrated. I think I got very in my head that um, like I should do better. And also, like, you look at Twitter and Facebook and all these people like, "Won my second pro quest. I'm the greatest in the world." Like, and, I think it kind of got to me that, like, I had failed,
Mhm.
and I had put, not a 0 amount of, preparation into the event. So, it's okay to fail.
Yep.
I ended up not losing too much elo on the weekend. I'm ranked 48th in constructed elo, and like I was 80th, I think, in limited elo.
Yep.
Um, and I failed. That's okay.
Yeah, it's an
People fail.
interesting yeah, it's an interesting dynamic when we talked about this topic in the show notes, Nate, is because I actually did the exact same thing on the last on the Outsiders RTN season. The
Mhm.
same thing you just did, I just did it. I
You
went
threw an
into
overload script 8 feet in the air.
no, but I at my RTN, there were some things that just went south on me. Like, Azalea just dominated a couple attacks. And in my head, I just thought it was my fault, right? I was like, I don't even, when I get tilted like that, I don't even think about it logically anymore. It's like, well, was there a way out of that? And some of the times when it comes down to those games, there's not,
Yep.
right? But I skip right past that. And even going into the event, I've qualified for every U.S. Nationals, um, and like I got it in my head where I was like, I got to keep this streak going. And same thing happened. I lost, like I said, lost to an Azalea, big dominate attacks, and it's draft, so you got to draft 3 times, super
Yep.
stressful, and the top 8 broke down to where everyone everyone's matchups got somebody in qualified except for me and the guy that matched up. We're the only, and I wasn't, I wasn't throwing like a huge fit, but I know for sure, and I was visibly angry about that, how that came down. It's like, how am I so unlucky that I'm the only matchup, right? That
Yeah.
like it's just not a hey handshake, I got my invite, like, that type of deal. Um so yeah, this ProQuest season I kind of took that to heart and did some like self reflection and was like, you know what, I just want to draft. And I was okay with not qualifying for the LA ProQuest. And it definitely alleviates a lot of that stress. I still want to
Mhm.
win every game that I play.
Yeah.
Um, and I still get kind of frustrated, when I took a couple draws this weekend, but it kind of, resets me. And like you said, it's okay to fail. And, as long as you're learning, right? I think Flake says that, right? If you're learning, you're not losing.
Yep.
So I kind of just tried to reset that mentality. And it was interesting that we talked about that as we went live, right? I was like, oh yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. So I did
Yeah.
this the last season.
Yeah.
So yeah, just remember Twitter. No one's going on Twitter saying like, oh man, I two forward my my pro quest. Oh, hooray for me. It's always going to be look at this gold foil I got, right? It's never you're very rarely gonna see someone just being like, I ate shit today, you know.
Mhm.
So just remember that. Just remember that, folks.
Yes.
So
Yeah. I think you can ask a lot of competitive players and a lot of very good competitive players um like how they've done. And it's not the things that go on Twitter, but like there's several people on our team. There's one guy on our team. He's gone to 4 Pro Quests. He's top aided 4 Pro Quests. You know how many gold foils he owns, Ted?
4.
0.
Oh yeah, well, it goes one way or the other, right?
He owns 0. Shout out to Brian. He listens when he goes to sleep. So nighty night, Brian. But like he is a hell of a player,
Hmm.
and he has made 4 in a row, and he is top four at I think 2 of them. Made finals of one and got knocked out in top eight of the other, or something like that. Brian will correct me,
Yeah.
but like it is okay to fail. You got one shot at this. You got to make it to the top, baby. But it's okay. Like making failure in this day and age, something that isn't necessarily like you don't have to go on Twitter and be like brag about like "Hoo-hoo, scrubbed out of my pro quest, let's go." But like
Mhm.
it's okay. Don't get frustrated because it sucks. I'm sure that sucked for you. Like you're like, I don't know. This man just threw an overload script higher than I've ever seen another man throw an overload script. I don't know how they handle this. And like I after every loss too, I go pretty deep to the tank and I like talk through a lot of the things and we talked through the lines and like
Yeah.
there's lines for me to win that game and I just didn't take them.
Yep.
Um, so yeah, I ended up dying with an item in my hand, and that was why I threw an overload script in the air out of
Yeah, I
frustration.
mean, I didn't mind. Like, I don't. We didn't talk about it at the time or anything, but like as soon as it happened, I was like, "Wow, I kind of stole one here." It was kind of a wonky game, pretty high variance, like where I just got a handful of items and then I got to play them all out.
Yeah,
Hadron colliders, things like that. Like items that matter. And then, but as soon as it happened, I was like, yeah, I've been there. Like I know that exact same feeling, especially when, I've driven to the other side of the state, right? And I've mentioned this to you too before. I actually think Michigan in a whole where we're based is a strong player base, actually. I think there's not a lot of um there's not a lot of easy outs, right? Over the last couple of years, the I can honestly say going to the local events, people have leveled up for sure.
100%.
So,
Yep.
and just remember that, like for your meta too, if you're listening to this, just know that more people are getting into the game,
Mhm.
and you gotta. And it's a card game too, right? It's not all skill, even though I think Flesh and Blood is successful because a lot of it relies on skill, and skill expression, but it is still a card game. Sometimes if you don't draw the right cards, you can't play out of it sometimes. That's just the that's just the bricks.
Mhm. And I
So
think like especially for those like those newer players out there who are trying to get better at the game, whenever you lose, just ask like,
yeah.
did you see anything that I did that was like horrendous? Or like you can talk back through the lines with the other player, especially if they're good. Like Um, I love talking back through lines, because like, in our game, I talked back through, like,
Hmm.
literally, you attacked for 9 with a red boom grenade, and I had 8 block in hand, so I was just said, "Yeah, I can't block it, so I might as well take it, otherwise I can't
Hmm.
do anything," but actually, the correct play was to just block and play out
Blast.
my item,
Yeah.
um, and that's what ended up losing me the game. But now going forward, like, I know that if I'm just a little bit more patient
Hmm.
like that gives me the potential out to win the game there when I don't necessarily I'm not winning the game on the crackback.
Yeah, and honestly, like in a way that helped me later on in the event, talking through it with you, talking about how maybe patience was a little bit better. Because you had already mentioned it when we talked about security script at the top of the hour, talking about the PQs, is that I had the choice of pitching the script and playing a attack, which wouldn't be for lethal, but it would put enough pressure, right? It was gonna put him to 2 or 3. So I
Mm,
felt like there was a chance where it's like this is scary enough to go this low against me, that I was like, maybe I can pull a card here. But then honestly, I thought back and I was like, wait, I gotta play it safe here. Like I don't he's taking some damage. I don't know what he's got cooking. So instead I played the script and then he came back with the overpower. Sometimes like it wasn't even that I read overpower, but it was just like there's something going on here, and I bet you it would be nice to have 4 blocks. Instead of trying to push, because in limited I sometimes feel, and maybe this is not, this gets me in trouble at times, but like pressuring your opponent's life total can definitely affect, maybe if it's not throwing for lethal and pressuring down, especially when you have boom grenades coming off the top and things like that. People don't want to go that low, overpower in this set. So I kind of debated that for a bit, and it kind of, and it got me back. So yes, that's a great tip, Nate. Is that if you're new, ask, and you're going to an armory, you're gonna get beat up. That's just how
You're
this game is. You're gonna
absolutely
get slapped
slaughtered.
hard. But I say stick with it because the game is very fun once you get the hang of it. But always ask, right? I tend to not um I tend to not like go into deep detail with my opponents if they just are like new and making huge misplays, because sometimes I feel like I it comes off as talking down.
Yeah.
But if someone asks me, they're like, "Hey, what could I have done, or how do I play this deck differently? Do you know what I'm doing? I'm playing X hero." Then yeah, I'll go in and explain. Oh yeah, I used to play that, or hey, this guy down the table, when his game gets over, he's actually a Dromai expert. Like he's been playing her, or he plays Dory all the time. Let's go talk to him, right? So, um, yeah, always ask when you're starting out for sure.
Yeah. 100%. Well, that ends my rants for this week. We haven't really had a buy list in a while. I haven't really had a good chance to rant, so I appreciate everyone letting me get this off my chest. I appreciate Ted giving me the space to not only throw overload scripts in the air, but also rant. And James White, I know that you've listened 50 minutes into this episode. Um, would love a spoiler. Shoot my
just
shot,
just
baby.
throwing it out there, yeah.
Shoot my shot. J Dubs, hit us up. We'll do a sick video, I promise. I'll make Ted do something.
Yeah. Oh boy.
I'm the idea man. I don't actually do anything. Ted does like all the graphics and everything. I just show up and talk into a freaking microphone. Ted's the real hero.
That's what the talent does, though, right?
No, no.
No. But all right, folks, that's gonna do it. Thanks. Yeah, 53 minutes. Thank you very much, everyone. Please like, please subscribe. Peace.
Love y'all. Audi.